Hello there. Welcome back. This is day 5 already. Yes. Okay. I hope you're enjoying this so far, and I hope the information and descriptions are clearing your mind on a lot of these things or affirming you on what's going on for you. That's fully my intention, is to help you feel some clarity, feel some relief, affirm you so that you trust yourself to go further. And I hope that discussing the clairs has helped you so far. So, clairsentience. This one I can guarantee you we all have, because we're all feeling beings. We all have emotions and we all have physical sensations. So, there's a few ways that this one can play out. Now, clear feeling also requires that we sort of have a good sense of inner calm or balance, to know that the feeling that we are suddenly overwhelmed with or feeling flooded with or that suddenly comes to us, we have to get clear whether that's ours, our fears, fantasies, or whether that is being received as a message or from somebody else's stuff, right? If you are highly sensitive or empathic, you'll know what I mean right away. Very often, people who are clairsentient might first say that they're empaths, meaning that you feel the emotions that other people feel. If something is happening to somebody, even if you don't know them, and there's sadness, you might cry because you're feeling their sadness right away. If somebody is scared, even though you personally are not in that situation or in danger, you will feel the adrenaline and the fear that they do, and your heart will start racing, even if mentally you know, I'm not in danger. That's them. This is why sensitive people and empaths or clairsentience people have a hard time watching the news and have a hard time being in crowds or groups, because very often we are feeling the emotions or physical sensations that belong to other people, and we are taking them on or absorbing them or expressing them for those people, and it can become very exhausting for us. However, if you get good at this, it is an amazing gift, and it's an amazing gift that can help people heal. So, one way that it can play out is, let's talk about just the emotional factor. So, clear feeling when it comes to emotion could look like you go into a new environment or you meet a new person and you were feeling fine and calm, good mood, optimistic about your life, no physical pain, feeling good. And you step into a store, let's say, and all of a sudden you're feeling spaced out or dizzy. Has that ever happened? Or you walk into, you know, I don't know, a coffee shop, and all of a sudden you notice that your heart is racing, and you were fine. You were fine when you got up, you were fine on the bus or the car. It's when you walked in the coffee shop. So those are like physical sensations, but they bring emotion with it because we have a reaction, emotional reaction to our physical sensations usually, right? So the first one, feeling spaced out or dizzy, sort of refers to a few things that could be going on. The first thing I would ask myself, if I suddenly feel spaced out around anybody or anything, I would check with myself now, is there anything about this place or anyone I interacted with that triggered me today? Because people often feel very spaced out when there's some sort of trauma or some sort of trigger or something reminds them of something painful. And it could be anything. And a lot of people deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. So I know there's a lot of people out there dealing with that. So if you were great and you were feeling fine, la la la, and I walk into, this shop and I'm like, within a couple minutes of being in there, I'm like really spacing out, I would first ask myself, is this mine? Is this mine? Is this sensation of spaced outness mine? If you feel it is, then you can ask yourself, okay, is there something about this environment that is triggering me? And you might need to leave first. You might need to just get out of there. Spacing out is not a good sign. It says that you don't feel safe. So if you suddenly really badly space out around certain people or things that were said to you when you walk into a place, I would try to get out of there because you're not feeling safe. Then we would take a look at, well, where's that coming from? And if you feel like it's related to yourself and something triggered you, you can figure out what it was, and that'll be an enormous sign to help you with your healing or self-understanding. Because when you know what triggers you, when you figure it out, you can start to have more control over it gradually or avoid it so that you don't go through this so often. Now, the second version is that you step back, you feel super spaced out, you ask yourself, is this mine? This spaced out feeling, it's coming from me? And if you get a feeling of, no, this has nothing to do with me, then you know that you have walked into a toxic environment. Something in that environment is not healthy or safe for others. Potentially, we don't know what it is. It doesn't have to be physical threat, danger. It might be. It might just be really bad dynamics. Maybe there's somebody really abusive who runs the place. We don't know. Maybe somebody who was just in there was having a horrible day and felt like that, and you're just picking up the imprint of that energy. But the main question here that I want you to learn with anything empathic or clairsentient with feelings is, the first question is this mine? Is this mine? Get a sense of whether this is coming from you or if it doesn't feel like it's coming from you. That's the very first thing. Now, sometimes, if we go to that another example, let's say, sometimes clairsentience plays out very physically, and like really specific weird things can happen. So one day, I had this lady come in, and I had done maybe 6 or 7 readings with people that day, and I was on a good day. I was on a roll. I was feeling wonderful. And she sat down, and I looked at her cards, and my hands suddenly went numb. I couldn't feel my hands. And I asked her, was there anything going on with your hands? Do you have any pain in your hands? And she said, no, I'm fine. And to be honest, I never heard back from her to understand what that was that day. But my hands went numb when she was there, and then I went back to normal when she left for the rest of the day. It was just with her. And so that is the kind of clairsentience we're talking about too. Sometimes a sudden headache, spaced out, suddenly your heart's racing, I don't know, a sudden cramp in your leg, a sudden overwhelming, sadness or anger comes over you. We can all have that in our own life, of course. But sometimes, if it comes on really suddenly, when you know that you are fine that day, sometimes you are feeling it from someone else around you, someone close to you. The tricky part, again, there's always tricky parts, is when you're in close relationships with other people, we all take on each other's energies. uh, they're taking on yours and you're taking on theirs. So, and animals will do that too. So sometimes you have, let's say, a cat who has, elderly cat has some sort of kidney problem, let's say. It's hard to say, is that cat taking on the energy of the people in the house? Is the cat taking on the fears and responsibilities or deep emotions of the house? Or perhaps people in the house are picking up on the cat and suddenly they have lower back pain at the same time that the cat has a kidney infection. These things happen when you're aware, because we're all connected. Everything is connected energetically. Nothing stays in a little box by itself. So we can feel it. I'll give you a good example of clairsentience then. Think of a time when there's like a group of people sitting around or at a gathering, and somebody brand new walks in. Like, doesn't mean you don't know them, but somebody new that wasn't there at the beginning walks in the door and sits down. Most of the time, you're going to feel a shift in the room. You're going to feel something subtle, or maybe not so subtle, depending how they are. But you're going to feel the energy shift when they come in the room. And I'm sure many of you are going to relate when I say the opposite. Think about a time when you're sitting around or at a restaurant or a board meeting, whatever's going on, and somebody gets up to leave and you feel it. You know, when people are positive, uplifting, joyful, happy, motivating, they come in the room and we feel good. We feel energized. We feel someone's paying attention. You know, we want to be around them. We want to hear what they got to say. We want to interact with them, joke with them. And when that person leaves the room, sometimes you feel this, you know, just like the wind out of the balloon. You feel their energy leaving and you feel their energy coming. And that's clairsentience. That's basic stuff that we all do. Feeling people's vibes. And the same thing with toxic people, same thing. Although there are a few signs that are telltale for clairsentience with toxic people. One of them is if you suddenly get a lot of chest pains. If you get chest pains around somebody, very bad sign. Very bad sign. And you can't just base that on one time. Like, see if it keeps happening, and if it feels like there's an intense pressure on your chest every time you're around someone. It could happen that if it's somebody that you know and there's a lot that you are not saying or expressing to them, that could be yours. That could be your pressure and chest pain of things you need to get off your chest. But if it's somebody that you don't really have much emotional connection to and you're doing well with yourself and somebody is around you and you suddenly feel intense chest pressure or pain over and over, that is a bad sign. That's a toxic energy. The second classic one would be sudden headaches and migraines. Can be medical issues, of course. You don't rule that out and always blame other people for your symptoms. But again, we're talking about times when you're calm overall and you're feeling well overall, and something like a sudden migraine comes on, and when you never get migraines, sometimes that's another sign of toxic energy. And the other classic one is feeling nauseous. If you are in you could be at anything. You could be anywhere. People can, on the surface, be seeming to be so fun. Oh, yeah, you know. But if it's toxic, or there's abuse on some level, and you start to feel nauseous around somebody, even if they're like, it's abuse. There's something abusive going on, or there's something really toxic, or there's something really not matching with your values, and feeling nauseous is a sign to get out. Now, as I mentioned other times, when you have developed this ability more, and you know how to discern what is your emotion and your sensation versus picking something up from somebody, then you can get to the level sometimes of a healer or a shaman where they have, or we have, the ability to feel what you're feeling, take on that energy. A shaman knows even how to take it on fully and help you remove it and relieve it, and then remove it from themselves. A lot of people that work with the public or with service industries or anything where you're touching other people or dealing with other people, they can often get sick. Pardon me, because they often take on so much energy from other people and don't necessarily realize it and don't have the tools or the skills to release the energy from themselves. So you'll see, nurses or social workers getting ill from absorbing so many people's illness and problems. You'll see massage therapists with problems with their back, their hands, their skin from touching people all the time. And sometimes it's their issues, and sometimes it's a combination of absorbing things from other people, taking it on and not knowing how to release it. So if you're somebody who's very clairsentient and empathic, and you tend to get a lot of like sudden onset of physical or emotional symptoms when you're around other people, it's going to be really important that you learn how to release. It's really important that you learn to sit down again and meditate. Sit down quietly and meditate and ask yourself, if you come home, and I'll just use that example of the lady with the hands that are numb. So let's say my hands still feel a bit numb after that lady because I didn't clear it, let's say. I'm going to come home, I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to focus on my hands. And I'm going to see, am I still thinking of her? And then I'm going to sort of surround her in some sort of white light or love, if you will. And then I'm going to see her shrink, 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 till I see her disappear. And wish her well, but I'm going to learn to clear and cut this energy. Now this takes skill, this takes some time. You might need some help with this, but this would be a very basic one. Maybe some of you will be able to do this quickly and easily now. But just check with yourself. If you get these sudden feelings, sudden physical sensations, sudden emotions, and you can't figure out why or where it came from, sit and ask yourself, is this mine? What is this trying to show me? Trust what you feel it's connected to. Try to meditate, try to release, say a prayer for, cut that energy somehow. And if you need help with that along the road, during this course or after, you can contact me and I can help you with that. So we're going to talk next time about predictive dreams. Exciting stuff. I hope this has helped. Please continue your journaling and continue your meditating. Continue staying a bit detached and just watch and observe yourself in this process and affirm yourself. I wish you a wonderful day. See you next time.